So Nick Saban retired a couple of weeks ago, and then there was a very brief coaching search, and a debatable amount of guys got offers from Alabama and turned it down. Nevertheless, Alabama and A.D. Greg Byrne ended up with Kalen DeBoer, who they probably wanted all along. And then I looked in my inbox, and I looked around, and there were just like alarm bells going off all over the Southeast and beyond. This guy can't cut it at Alabama. What are they talking about? Fish out of water, man. He's never recruited down here. How's Kalen look at his classes at Washington. That's not going to beat Georgia. That's not going to compete with LSU and A&M. Question. Where'd the alarm bells go around Alabama football? Where'd all the panic go? You notice? You know what I noticed? We did a segment right after DeBoer got hired at Alabama. Colin's going to tee it up for you in just a second. We did a segment, and what stood out to me was not the segment. It was the feedback I got afterwards. So I'm going to remind you of what we said because I'm only even more affirmed in this opinion now, and I'll talk to you on the back end. I got asked, do you think that they made the right hire in Kalen DeBoer? Yeah, I think they made the right hire. I have been in the SEC for a long time. I've been around SEC coaches for a long time. The ones who win the battles constantly, the ones who dominate the portal, the ones who dominate in recruiting, they're covered in scars. Those are the ones who win. They are covered figuratively in scars. The way this conference operates is not for the weak at heart. It's different. It's a unique culture. It's a unique ecosystem unto anywhere else in college football. There are some guys who have grown up down here who go elsewhere. Lanning does it at Oregon. But recruiting in the entirety on the West Coast pales in comparison to how intense the knife fight is down here. Kalen DeBoer just walked into it. And I'd imagine he's got some fresh scars on him right now. I think there is a major, major misread by a lot of people on who that guy is. A lot of folks look at him as some dude who came from the Pacific Northwest, and he's in the SEC now, and he's going to get chewed up and spit out. I don't think that's it at all. I think right now they're probably cut, they're bleeding at Alabama a little bit, but that'll turn. I mean, that'll turn. Like, there'll be a day down the road, a few months, where spring football started and they've got all the momentum on their side, couple of commitments. You're hearing good things about the coaching staff. Then the post-spring portal opens up, and then summer recruiting starts to pay dividends for them. There'll be plenty of times down the road where Alabama's got such momentum that it makes you laugh to look back on what you said and what other people said about them in early to mid-January. But here's what's going to last. What's going to last is some of the misconceptions about Kalen DeBoer being a fish out of water down here. I don't think he is at all. I think that guy is perfectly cut out to, once he gets his feet under him and once that staff gets its collective feet under it, to thrive. In the SEC, doing things by the SEC code is just different than the way it's worked elsewhere, and it's probably a shock to the senses right now. And I'd imagine a couple of things. I'd imagine DeBoer's walked in down here, and he's sat on the on-ramp and thought the traffic was going 80 and it's going about 110, and it takes you by surprise. It's like a cold tub plunge. It takes you by surprise to see how things really operate. To truly get behind that SEC curtain for the first time is a shock to the senses, and it swallows a lot of people up. But the ones who are cut out for it all of a sudden start to realize something about themselves. And there's this pulse of adrenaline, and there's this gritting of the teeth that you may have never quite felt, all due respect, at Washington or Indiana. And all of a sudden you look around, and there are famous examples in the past of guys that get knocked down early and then they get back up, and then, oh snap, did he just pull a sledgehammer out? Yeah, he did. I think down the road, I'm bookmarking a lot of stuff mid-January 2024. I'm just laughing at it. I don't know the future any better than some of you. Maybe I do better than some of you, but I'm bookmarking a lot of stuff because I have a feeling in the not-too-distant future, once they've dusted themselves off, him and that new staff, you'll find Kalen DeBoer fits in a whole lot more seamlessly in the SEC than apparently a lot of people think he will. Just having some fun reading the live chat because we are live. One person asked, what's the deal with the color on the video? That indicates we're playing video from the past. That's what the past looks like. It's very miscolored. Don't go to the past if you can avoid it. Unless you were right about something, in which case, go to it early and often. Now, how was I right about that? Well, he hasn't coached a game yet, so technically I haven't been right about anything. I just think I was never wrong about it, and I think a lot of folks are. So what's happened? Why am I even emphasizing this right now? Well, it could be pure Bama homerism. That's one possibility, I'm being told. Or it could be that Kalen DeBoer has already started to make moves in recruiting. And so Noah Carter committed to them today. That's a big get. That's an edge guy, 4-star. But I want to talk to you for just a second about Bama landing Ryan Williams. I've followed recruiting my whole life. You always learn about what someone's made of. Are they a 10 on the college football fandom scale? Are they about an 8 with how much they understand this stuff? Or are they just a casual 3? A lot of casual 3s out there have been running their mouth about how little a recommitment of 5-star wide receiver Ryan Williams to Alabama really means. That happened yesterday. By the way, he was committed. Saban retires. Ryan Williams decommits. Kalen DeBoer takes the job. Everyone tells you he's not going to land big talent. He gets a big talent back on board. And I have the casual 3s who are yelling at me, that's actually not a big deal. You didn't gain anything at Alabama. All they got was a guy who was already committed. Is that really a recruiting win? Yeah, it's a massive one. Because you know what could have happened? What could have happened is he could have gone to Auburn. What could have happened is he could have gone anywhere he wants to. He's one of the best receivers in the country this year. I was talking to Cooper Pategna, as I tend to do from time to time, talking about Ryan Williams' player comp. Is this really a win for Alabama? The player comp is Devontae Smith. That doesn't mean he's Devontae Smith 2.0. A player comp is taking a guy's skill set and comparing him to a recent player in that program or nationally. Devontae Smith, what's notable about him is not only did he win the Heisman in the year of our Lord 2020, but he also had more receiving yards that year than Alabama's top 3 receivers this past year had combined. That roster didn't have a wide receiver 1 on it. It was a problem, in case no one realized it, and that right there is one. And even though Ryan Williams is a reclassified guy, technically should be a senior in high school this upcoming year, he's probably on the field this fall for Alabama. You need to understand something. Once upon a time, I was having fun watching this the other day. Guy by the name of Nick Saban takes the job at LSU, and everyone says, oh, he's a Yankee, he'll never make it down here. And then those people disappeared. And then he goes to the Dolphins, and then he takes a job at Bama. And what was so great, you can still find it, is ESPN did a 2-part conversation with Saban when he takes the job at Bama. And one of the key focal points, one of the key themes they wanted to hit on was asking Nick Saban, how are you ever going to be able to recruit here? This is a serious story. I'm not making this up. How are you going to be able to recruit here? There's a lot of coaches out there, coach, and there are a lot of critics out there, coach, who are saying Nick Saban's not going to be able to walk into the living rooms of 18, 17, 16-year-old kids when he just said he's not going to take the Bama job. How could recruits and families ever trust this man? And then he signed more number 1 classes than I can fit on both hands at Alabama, and then those people disappeared. It sends a really loud message, is what just happened here. It sends a really loud message, kind of like when Saban landed a kid from Foley, Alabama back in the day. His name was Julio Jones, went on to do some pretty notable things in the game. But it was more than just landing a 5-star receiver. You had Julio Jones, you had A.J. Green that cycle. I think DeAndre Brown came out of Ocean Springs that cycle and didn't quite achieve to the level that Green and Julio did. But Julio Jones committed to Alabama once upon a time, and it was a huge deal, and it was the number 1 player in the state, and it was the number 1 wide receiver in the country, and all that. But it was also symbolic. It's symbolic, like Boss Man versus Undertaker, Hell in a Cell at WrestleMania 15. It's symbolic. If you know, you know. That was a pretty deep cut there. It's symbolic because a guy just walked in that a majority of the college football public is telling me can't recruit, can't land big talent, and the top player in the state looked and said, well, I'll go play for him. I'm in. And did it with a lot of jubilation and excitement behind it. So I am still being told by many people that it's not such a big deal. That kid was already committed, and he briefly decommitted, but let's see what he does the upcoming cycle. I am going to tell you the same thing that I told you last week. A lot of you are going to come to regret doubting that guy and his ability to recruit. There's a difference between has not and cannot. Kalen DeBoer has not recruited the South and has not landed top 10 classes because he hasn't been in position to do it. Now he is, and now I think he will. What it takes to recruit the South is not having grown up in the South. To be clear, Urban did it and Nick Saban did it, and they had no clue. even which road was which in the South when they first got down here. You got to be relentless, which Kalen DeBoer is, and you got to know people. It's not know people, it's know people. You got to be good with people. You can't be a recluse or a weirdo. Well, he's not that. And so if you're relentless and you know people and you work with people and people like you, you are going to recruit when you walk in with that script A on your chest. It's going to happen. I'm not telling you he's landing a number one class this next cycle. I'm telling you if Kalen DeBoer does not succeed at Alabama, maybe a few different reasons. I don't think it's going to be because he got lapped in recruiting. So very early signs indicate positive for Alabama here. I don't think anyone's changed their mind on Kalen DeBoer. Like if you doubted him before, an in-state kid committing probably hadn't changed your mind. If you were excited before, your excitement has been emboldened now because Ryan Williams and probably more names in the not-too-distant future are on board.